Every once in a while, I get a new favorite character. Usually my own characters, sometimes from media I like Novelette or Mello. Yet this time, instead of it being singular characters, I felt a sudden adoration for all my old characters. If you look back at my channel for even 2 seconds, you'll see just how many there used to be. A total of 24, if we don't count those I've retired over the years. Now, if you were a normal person, you would just smile and make a sketch or two. I decided to redesign all of them. They're so endlessly precious to me, whether it be their stories, their designs, or the memories making them. Now, this isn't all for nothing. I want to make a comic, or an animation, but I have no plans or promises yet. Listen, currently my OCs are divided into 6 mostly separate groups. Of course, for a lot of them, the characters will overlap, but all of them have their own main story with their primary friends or family. For example, Leslie and Skyler are main characters for their own groups, for now at least, yet they do appear as side characters in each other's lives, because Leslie's boyfriend Valentine's cousin is Skyler, so they're almost forced to appear, and that holds true for a lot of the main young adult cast. Due to this, I had a hard time dividing and sorting them, but I did it. No need for applause. Each of the around 6 stories have their own morals and whole vibe. Even though all of these characters live on the same island, each of their environments are very different. In this episode, I wanted to talk about Skyler and Co. though. Currently called S.H.E.D, S-H-E-D, it's an acronym. But for what? S as in Skyler. Skyler Chernov is a character I made back in 2020 alongside the original cast. He was always the edgy one, the always grumpy and mean. I mean, looking back, he almost looked like a false villain taking the attention away from Lori. Then I think he slowly became kinder and overall better person. He was the first of my redesigns because I don't know why, but he was the catalyst for me returning to my old babies. And when it comes to his design, while I did redesign him, it almost feels like I just drew him in my current art style. It didn't change much at all. The beanie, the mask, the mini jacket, the oversized pants, the patches, all of it stayed the same in spirit. Don't fix what ain't broke, I guess. Now, when it comes to his personality, though, I did keep it similar, but hear me out, okay? It's not completely keeping everything about him. He's not mean or evil in a sense. He is complicated. When Skyler was a kid, there happened an event that ended up with him and his little sister living with his cousin and uncle. Before this event, he was a complete delinquent and his parents did nothing about it. But after it, he was completely broken as a person and worked to rebuild himself as he became an adult. He threw away his old habits and was determined to become a better person who no longer hurt others. The scars all over him remain as a constant reminder to be better. His arc would include him becoming less withdrawn and acknowledging his trauma to move forward and just stop living in terror because of it. Eventually the mask would have to go and he wouldn't hide his scars anymore as they're just a part of him. I mean, now he's just like a pretty chill guy. But when it comes to Delaney, all bets are off. If there's one person he likes to annoy and provoke without mercy, it's Delaney. But that's for later, Skyler also has a couple other OCs tied to him, and we wouldn't be able to meet Jamie or Emmy or Sherry and get attached to them if they showed up for just a page or two. I would love to give them their own story, but I don't have the resources or the time to do that, unfortunately. Anyway, enough about the side characters, I'll talk about them later. H as in Hannah. Back in 2023, Hannah was the only character without any backstory or lore, and Hannah was the obvious filler character. So I wanted to change that this time. Even when I look back at Hannah's old design, it has little cohesion or theme. It's so generic, and even the second design lacks any personality. So the first thing I did was go back through my old notes to find Hannah's gender and pronouns. I looked through the flag sheet, nothing. It was made before Hannah, I understand. I looked through 40 different note files, nothing. And then I see it, MXMFXF, a random button mash that is surprisingly fitting for the queer content. I scroll down. I see Skyler. I see the others. I feel relief. finally the hunt for Hannah's gender is over. But to my horror, when I look to the right, instead of words, there's an empty slot. And now I sit here without a clue of what Hannah's gender originally was. Knowing me, they were probably male, or maybe just AMAB non-binary. But I can't prove it. That's just what I assume knowing myself. So I had to start thinking for myself for once. What should I make Hannah? This was harder than I thought, as the group the story revolves around is half male already, so by making her female, I feared that she would stick out. But then again, if he was male, then he would be really unspecial since most of the cast is already masculine. In the end, Hannah is now a girl. Whether cis, a demigirl, or otherwise, she is AFAB and presents femininely and uses she/her pronouns. Now that that is settled, we can actually get into who she is. Hannah is a generally kind but disconnected person. While she will help if directly asked, her motto in life is like, not my problem, man. She will do almost anything to keep her own peace. Coming from a wealthy family, she currently studies fashion design alongside Skyler's cousin, Val, who shares the course with her. While she is able to create and understand others, her worldview is so high above what others consider normal that her arc and her growth centers around her being more socially aware, as Skyler is from like a middle-class family, and the upcoming Elliot is from a middle-lower-class family, so by coming into their lives, she is able to understand her privilege and change for the better, which also broadens her view of art and allows her to create better pieces. E as in Elliot. Now, Elliot is a little different to Hannah in that his identity is very predictable, like, yes, of course, the cheerful one is trans, mask, and gay, and oh, let me guess. Wait, no, his pronouns, right? Are he, they. So creative. Absolute cinema, Leo. And I'm not changing that, out of spite towards myself. I mean, he stayed just as cheerful and sweet, and I decided to make it official that he founded the band the story revolves around. As you might have guessed, the band is called S.H.E.D. To contrast the sad one, the vain one, and the angry one, I needed to keep him the sweetheart of the group, or they would fall apart in an instant without him. Some groups are only held together by a single person who is like the glue of the group, and for them, it's Elliot. At least until all of them get to know each other and stop being so abrasive. Growing up, Elliot didn't have many friends and was probably bullied, so he became very quiet, and only in college did he blossom again, talking to any and everyone until he found enough people to make a little band. I imagine he would also get along super well with Sky's friends, like the other side characters I mentioned like a little bit ago, and he would finally be appreciated. I'm not 100% done with the characters, and I can't say if this detail will 100% stay, but I do think his fixation on the band is likely caused by ADHD. A lot of my other characters have it since I see a lot of the symptoms in myself, and it allows me to be like, nah, see, they have it, not me. I did think about making Elliot the main character since following his dreams and making a band with friends is the main goal of the story, but I do think it would be tricky since he is a bit odd, and while him being a bit manic could be relatable for some, it could also come off as annoying, and that would be just heartbreaking. I honestly have no clue what the hell I was doing with his old design. Leo was on something, not onto something with this one. The focus on the black with the minuscule bits of red was a choice, but not a good one, obviously. He doesn't have anything that makes him stand out or be more favorable than the other characters. For the redesign, I thought it was important to make red the main color this time. I did leave a lot of black, yes, but that's because his shirt and shorts combo is not bad in and of itself. It's just that it blends in with the old jacket and hair. So, in this new design, I made his jacket like neon red to contrast and give him some energy. I also gave him like a little scarf because he's just a little guy with a little scarf, you know? And also for his hair, I had no idea what to do, so I searched on Pinterest for anything, and I found this image. As soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted to give him something like this. The old brown and black combo was too dark, and this light dark combo would give way more contrast and interest in his design. D as in Delaney. Delaney is one of my most indulgent characters as I just adore her. because she follows one of my favorite character archetypes. I don't know what to call it, but this kind of character. Bratty, blonde, and with a mountain of underlying trauma. The best traits a character can have. It's these like Yurio, Aloy's Transy, and Mellow type of characters that I just absolutely love. It's especially funny because I made him before I saw any of these characters, but I guess this time I just hit the mark perfectly. Delaney's backstory is intertwined with a couple of other characters that have been separated into another group. He is the 4th out of 5 siblings. His mother needed a girl, so first came his brothers, Azriel, then Balam, then Sharon. Sharon is trans, so he was originally born female, and their mom, Eris, was just so relieved until he came out as trans in his teens, and Eris needed a new, heiress. So Delaney was born and quickly thrown away. He is only a half-sibling, as he has a different father from the rest of them. Eris made sure to remind all of them that he is a bastard. The only person in the family who actually cared for Delaney was Sharon, who basically raised him as a father rather than sibling, while he was in college and working, by the way. And so, Delaney grew up knowing the rest of his family was either neutral or hated his guts. Having Sharon wasn't enough to balance it out. Once his little sister was born, there was never a day of peace in his life, and she made sure to make his life a living hell. In response, he became very volatile in return. Even a look was enough to set him off.
Smack cam. Bitch, I hope the fuck you do. You'll be a dead son of a bitch, I tell you that.
Only by throwing hands was he able to keep everyone away from him. Since he was always by himself, and Sharon is a busy man, he learned how to be self-sufficient. Since he knew he had a job safety net, and Sharon, who is one of the wealthiest people on the island, he decided to study business so that he could join his brother and work alongside him to lessen his workload despite hating the family company. Sharon did help him financially and got him his own apartment so that he could attend college, so in return, Delaney works really hard in his studies, and it took a lot of begging from Elliot to convince Delaney to join a band and abandon his studies. I tried to balance his lore in his design. In his first iteration, he mostly had black and green, but in the redesign, I lightened his colors. When first seeing him, he's supposed to look pretty, kind of average, but as soon as he opens his mouth, we learn just how cruel he is. Not that he even wants to be, he just can't control it, and he doesn't want to admit it. He's always been so self-sufficient, and being vulnerable is something he doesn't know how to do. He gets along well with Hannah and Elliot kinda, but Skyler is a different case. As I mentioned, Sky loves to annoy him and make him crash the fuck out. But slowly, to Delaney, it helps him learn how to control his anger, as Skyler is nowhere near as vile as his sister, and he eventually stops crashing out that much. And then they're finally able to get closer and they can bond over familiar trauma that they share. And that's the main cast. But I do want to talk a bit more about the other side characters I mentioned, those being Jamie, Emery, and Cherry. Starting with Jamie, he is Skyler's best friend and roommate. Jamie is also a classic character from 2020, and he is a time capsule of his time. He is very 2020 alt, no matter what year is it, because he doesn't care what others think is cringe. He's trans mask, non-binary, cat gender, and he goes by he, they, it, nya pronouns. With him, I wanted to express this feeling of true freedom in self-expression and identity, and ignoring societal expectations. He isn't attending school, and instead he streams all day, and surprisingly, people love and hate him, so he does have a large cult fan base. All he does is game and yap all day, and when he's not screaming, he's arguing with people on Twitter and chugging monsters, you know? He's supposed to be fun. I would say that he is like Skyler's muse, but he is more like an adorable parasite Sky wants to keep around, since Jamie is paying for their whole penthouse apartment with his streamer bucks, and in exchange, Sky makes him food that isn't chips and energy drinks. And little side note, I had to dig through my old sketchbooks to find this info, but Sky and Jamie did own multiple animals, by which I mean Sky takes care of them and Jamie is counted as one of his pets. But while he can tell his cats to shut up at night, Jamie won't stop screaming about horror games at 3 a.m. Together they own a tarantula named Apollo, a cat named Elizabeth Lapis, another cat named Chad, a snake named Alexandria Eleanor, 2 goldfish named Romeo and Juliet, and a dumbass named Jamie. Oh wait, that's just Jamie. A long list of animals if you ask me, but it keeps Skyler busy when he isn't doing art. Well, I forgot to mention, but Sky is studying visual arts. Pretty sure I didn't say that in his section though. I just love them, both of them are so sweet. Then there's also Emmy, the third friend, and the complete opposite of Jamie. They are much more withdrawn and they struggle with severe depression, but they're lucky to have Jamie and Sky who care for them and are always there for them. Emmy often joins Jamie in playing video games on stream, and it helps Emmy clear their head. I will be honest and say that Emmy was always left in the background despite being a main 2020 character. It's unfortunate, but my neglect of them has influenced their lore. While severely mentally ill, they represent a hope that even at your lowest, the people around you will continue to care for you. Also, Emmy's design has stayed virtually identical for the past 6 years, with the green-tipped hair, white headband. I've never changed that, and it makes them even more special. But we still have one last character for today, Cherry, Skyler's little sister, but she was also an element in the event that happened to Sky. He loves her dearly, but he also knows that he's not the best influence for her, so he leaves her to live with their uncle and Val. She's the cheeriest kid and is a lot like her brother. She annoys the shit out of her cousin. She was always a Klee-like little danger. Her name is Cherry, as in cherry bomb, after all. Now, the catalyst for me turning feral about these characters again was Tomodachi Life. My first 20 characters were my current OCs, but then I ran out and I decided to make the classics, the legacy. I was going to make Sky and Jamie fall in love, get married. They were always the OTP for the past 6 years. But then Delaney fell in love with Skyler, and I was left speechless. I looked at Jamie, I looked at Delaney, I was like, well, whoever gets him first can have him. Delaney ended up being first. Thinking about them, I started realizing the potential they had. I had drawn ship art of them before, entirely as jokes and memes though. The ones I'm probably showing on screen right now are made with Pinterest bases, and all of those were absolutely intended to be memes. But looking at it again, they have something fun in their relationship that goes from bickering to understanding to bickering again, but less viciously. It gives them some tension, some humor, but by having so much, they almost became the main 2 characters while Hannah and Elliot rot, which is very unfortunate, but I haven't found a way to really balance this or change this yet, but I hope to do that in the future. For now, I only have a loose outline of the story. I've named little bits of lore, little events, and end goals, but that's all I have. I hope that within a couple months I'll be able to construct something so I have a prototype to show to my art teachers, as I'm also going to be remaking these stories to all be options for a comic, as that's what I want to do as my final for art school, and if not a comic, then at least an animation, you know? So, if any of these stories I'll be presenting catch your attention, you can comment down below, and it might just sway me to one or the other depending on how much they resonate with audiences. Because I want to create something that people understand and that they connect with the way I do. Okay. This recording is half an hour long already. My bad. Okay. Ahem. But until next time, I have been your host, Leo, and it was a pleasure to have you with me today. Remember to subscribe if you have enjoyed this video and drop a like. You have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time, Your Majesty. Now, Elliot is a little different to Hannah in that he's the fucking god. Now, Elliot is a little